and work and sound and make sure that all goes okay, because this is only my second live. So I thought, right, I'll go slightly early and then fingers crossed it will all be fine. So please don't all panic thinking that your clocks are wrong. No, that's not the case at all. So I'll let people kind of trickle in and start saying hello to everyone. I have my Velvetizer chocolate latte with me, so let me know what you are drinking, if you're drinking anything at all. And hello to those of you in the chat who are here. So yeah, I am slightly early. That is just a chance for... Tech is not my friend always. I like tech. I would love to own all the tech. I just can't. So tech is not my friend. So this is just a little bit of a tea here with a mushy cupcake. Ooh, there's nothing wrong with a mushy cupcake. Yeah, I mean, I'm saying a chocolate latte. It's more like chocolatey than it is coffee, but I'm pretending the illusion of caffeine is enough to keep me going, because I actually have kind of something semi-structured that I want to kind of talk about tonight, rather than just me rambling on talking about film industry stuff, which we can kind of do at the end. But yeah, it's been an interesting week. I have had to do a maths and English competency test today, because when you go into teacher training, they have to make sure that you've got an appropriate level of maths and English. Maths is not my friend. Oh, hi Lotta, by the way. I've just replied to you without saying hi. It's been a year where I'm happy if I don't build up any more debt and can't pay anything down. That's fine. I think that and I'm going to talk about this a little bit more as and when people trickle in. But given that it is halfway through the year, I'm really quickly having to reevaluate that. Back in December, I thought I'd be I thought I'd be able in this coming year to pretty much pay down certainly all of my guarantor debt, if nothing else. And I think that I can look halfway through the year, keep to the minimums and actually regularly pay minimums, I think, and then build up my savings. I think that in itself is going to be a different sort of an achievement. So I'll be happy with that. I think you should be happy as well, because I think that no one quite saw the financial climate. Well, I'm sure some economic experts did. I don't think anyone really foresaw how real world hitting the financial economic climate would be. And your money just doesn't go farther as far as it used to 2 months ago, let alone now. Hello to you guys trickling in. Yeah, I did start a little bit early. That's just to take into account for the fact that tech is not my friend. And as I was saying, or started to say, I've also had to do a maths and English competency test today. And the last time I did any maths related tests at all, it was my GCSEs, and I hated it. So I just came home and my brain was just absolutely fried. It was a 45 minutes mental maths test, no calculators. Does anyone remember doing long form multiplications without a calculator? Because it's been 15 years since I've had to. And it hurts. It hurt my brain so much so that the English test, which was an analysis of an academic piece, was a breeze. That was wonderful. The maths was awful. Without a calculator, why? I don't know the why. I would have loved it, because when you're confronted with a long form multiplication, it was horrendous. And it was for Key Stage 2 as well. So I don't know where you are in the world, Lotta, but Key Stage 2 over here in the UK is kind of age 10 to 11. And it was a SATs paper, so standard academic testing that they do for kids going up. You're in Norway. So in the UK, they're broken down into Key Stage years. And Key Stage 2 is years 10 to 11, or kids age 10 to 11. And then before they go up into or higher education, they have to do some competency tests in English, maths and science, and that basically just tells their new school what kind of academic level they're working at. Not every child from that secondary school will all go on, from that primary school will all go on to the same secondary school. They may go to different ones. And I had to do like it's harder than when I went. And I went through 20 years ago, I did my Key Stage 2 SATs. And I did that paper today, and I was like, this is horrendous. I don't know if it was as hard as when I did it. And the thing is, if you ask me to do like scale conversions and percentages and like real world application of maths, I can do that quite easily without thinking about it. But like we had no protractors, no calculators, no rulers. So it was purely just like a 40-minute mental maths test for like 10 and 11-year-olds. That hurt. That hurt my brain in many, many ways. And so much so, looked like the English analysis test, which was just write 200 words. Torture. Yeah, it was. And like the thing is, they used to be a requirement. So apparently about 4 years ago, they changed the rules. So in the UK, you could only train to be a teacher if you pass these English and maths tests. Now they have acknowledged that they basically use them as a level, and you may then need additional math support throughout the years, which I get for like grading and stuff. But I think, yeah, I wouldn't have passed if it was a requirement passed. Evening, Terry. Hello to everyone who's watching, by the way. Yeah, I did start a little bit earlier. I've been doing I had to do a maths and English test, and there was, and I mean, it's partly my own fault. I didn't revise because I've not had time this week because I've been doing my course as well. So I've had to study the health and safety legislation and regulations in the UK and the EU and America to be able to teach it. So my brain is full of like health and safety acts and laws and like regulations and legislations and safe working practices. And then kind of very quickly remembered that maths and English test was last night. So yeah, I'll give it another couple of minutes before I start like properly getting into the subject of stuff, which is kind of like, actually, you know, halfway through the year, how's 2023 really been going? Particularly like budgeting wise and expectations versus reality and things like that. So I'll let you guys I'll let a couple more people kind of come in, and then I'll get started. But yeah, it's been, and then when I found out as well, like I think I put on my community post that YouTube had like hidden pretty much all of the budgeting like channels that I followed. So I was very like detached, and I'm pretty rubbish on Instagram anyway. That's not a surprise to anyone watching or listening. Like I'm pretty detached from social media, really. I don't really have notifications on for things like that, and that's partly why I'm so rubbish with comments as well, because I just don't. I get minimal notifications. Found that you know, I've been watching my paranormal investigation series and my cute cat rescues and my pop culture in-depth like drama and things. And in the process of me watching the things that I would normally watch on a day-to-day basis, all of my budgeting channels that I follow, I've not had any notifications. Yeah, our internet is problematic tonight. We're slightly stormy, and that's not helping matters. So if it is horrendous and it continues to glitch out, I'll rearrange the stream rather than you guys basically have to struggle through a glitchy stream. If you're noticing like multiple disconnections and stuff, then let me know. Oh God, Terry, it's horrendous. And then like the mobile phone tower near where my parents are basically got set alight. Draw your own conclusions as to how. And so none of the 4G in the local area, and they're half of 30 minutes down the road, none of the 4G in that area for any of the suppliers is working at all, because they can't fix it, because they've discovered that the mobile phone tower's got asbestos. Yeah. Like rural, like UK is really, it's nothing like Lotta. It's nothing like the cities at all. So yeah, this is why, like, partly why I have prep stuff. No, I mean it's horrendous. I mean, partly that's why my internet bill is so high, because I can only really use BT. They're the only ones that run a line, so they've pretty much got a monopoly on the whole area. I'm so happy I don't have kids anyway. I say that like I'm going into teaching. I'm not a fan of small children because they seem to just scream uncontrollably and I can't handle it. That's probably really candid, really candid. That's probably too candid. I just can't. I like they hit a pitch like parents. I'm sure you love your children. I hope you do. But like when they just shriek and they hit that certain pitch, it's like the hairs on the back of my neck go up and I'm actually on the I can't do it. So I'm going in to teach teenagers and older in the hope that like they're fine. I just can't deal with like yeah, anyway. So hello to everyone who's here. Let me know what you are drinking. I actually wanted to talk to you guys about like how like it literally makes my skin crawl. It feels like it literally feels like thousands of ants crawling over my skin. They just hit that pitch and it's something triggers and I can't. Yeah, a lot of I've worked with actors, like they're the whiniest of the bunch, and the group I worked with this weekend just gone because I was on a film. Oh goodness gracious me. I wanted to put a sock in their mouth. Hi Rachel. Hello Han. Honestly, like this is very much like when you work with actors who are adults who act like children but should know better. I think when you then go into working with teenagers who are learning to push the boundaries and their brains are developing and are acting that way because they are working out if it's the right thing to do or not, I give that far more grace than someone who's in their 40s or 50s like having a full-on teenager temper tantrum complete with like stomping foot, screaming, shouting and tears of rage. Like no, hopefully we're all taught better than that. Okay, anyone else who just like pops in and stuff, I'm gonna like get started because I don't want to go for as long as I did last time because my brain is pretty fried. Yeah, I think Terry, I think you've you think you've hit the nail on the head, head there. This will be available to replay afterwards and it will be under my live section and I might see if I can clip it down into a video as well. But I actually wanted to talk about like now that we are halfway through the year, where are things at, because I think like my year has not gone to plan at all, particularly if I look back at my December 2022 kind of videos, and I was really proud and I'm proud of like those plans that I did make because they suited what was going on at the time, and that was the first time I'd really like sat and thought consciously about what was going on, what was coming up, what circumstances I were in, and then what I wanted to achieve as well. But I mean, pretty much straight away, like 6 weeks into the year, it took a tumble off the cliff because my income shrunk by about £2,000 a month. And while I've managed to like make it up and claw it up back like here or there, when I went and got the job, it was because I didn't want to necessarily have to go through and do that again, because I can do it and I've done it before, but it's a level of like mental exhaustion, which means that you don't necessarily get to sit back and enjoy the money that you've got coming in, or even just enjoy planning what you want to do with it, because there's that constant thought of, well, where's the next bit coming in, and have I covered everything that's important, and what have I got coming up, and just how can I manage this, and what's in the pipeline, and what have I got to take into account in a way that is just a little bit above a standard monthly budget. And then I think as well, when I left the retail job, and I don't regret leaving that at all, normally I give myself a bit of a run up if I'm going to then be fully from home, so I get things organized at home so I can go in and I can start doing whatever I'm doing, whether that's working a home business or doing film or the listing or the course that I'm currently doing at the minute, I like to make sure that actually any stuff that I have to do around the home is just normal home stuff, not a full clear out and a full sort. And I didn't have that. I just went properly like, I'm going to stamp my foot and go, absolute, like there's a boundary and there's a line here and it's been crossed and it's affecting my income, so therefore no, this stops now, basically. And I didn't have that, so I'm feeling not as organized as I'd like to be. I would say the most organized I am at the minute, or the most organized thing I have done, is that the plan for when I get my bursary and student loan income coming through. But that in itself took me all day just to work out that one bit. So I'd kind of started to do stuff on the house, get things sorted, then that paused. Then I went through my teaching interview process, then that resolved. Now I'm on the course. Now I'm trying to list. Now I'm trying to weigh up whether I take on the odd days filming here or there, because financially I don't know whether it's something I can commit to doing alongside what I need to time-wise do as well. And along all of that, there are minimum debt payments that I'm making, but they're not minimums to all of them. A lot of my debts are on kind of paused or suspended, or on interim plans, because my income is so inconsistent. So I'm not making minimums to all of them. There aren't minimums set up to all of them. I don't think I can afford realistically to pay minimums to all of my debt. And obviously the biggest one that I have is my guarantor. So that's even the minimalist, which is £100 that we've agreed on, it's still not, trying to think of the right way to put this. It's not going to like get it done quickly. At the minute, it feels like it's just plugging the holes on the boat, which had started to sink long before I'd like started this channel. And at the minute, I've like paled out all the water and now I'm patching up the holes, if that makes sense. But I would have wanted to have been 6 months down the line, much further paid off with my debt than I do have. I would have wanted to have chunked about a third of it down. And equally as well, in terms of savings, the penny challenge, the savings challenge Sunday videos that I put out, they are something I look forward to each week, but that is pretty much because it's the only thing guaranteed that I can save. Because again, with the inconsistent income, I could cash stuff something into a savings pot 1 week and then 4 days later need to take it out because there's been a change in planned income coming in, or something has come out early, or it's not gone to plan. So I think that, like, and pop in on chat if you guys have anything to kind of contribute or say, or if you're just happy to let me just talk at you and let my velvetizer go cold, then that's fine. This is kind of me, the process of me recording, but I'm just live, really. There's no cat as well tonight. His favoured bed this week is the armchair downstairs. I think that over March and April and most of May, I'd fallen out of love with budgeting, not the budgeting community itself, because actually I think if I'd been able to like actively find the algorithm and find those videos, it would have probably given me the spark that I've now got. It was more of a case of, Nicole, you need to budget because you're at the point right now, you're on that that ledge of you're going to go and emotionally spend and slide off a cliff and cause issues and not pay bills because you've emotionally spent too much, or you're going to just go, this isn't working, and stop it completely. And actually the thing that's not working is nothing to do with budgeting. So it became very much a case of, instead of budgeting to make progress, savings or cash stuffing or debt payoff, it became a budgeting to just keep going, if that makes sense. And if none of this is making sense to anyone, just let me know and I'll try and elaborate further if I'm not clear. There's just a kind of fairly mildly sort of structured state of consciousness right now that's coming from my brain. So whereas now, And towards the end of May, my income is still horrendously inconsistent. I don't know when the learning bursary for the small course that I'm doing is turning up. It'll either be the end of this month or the end of next month. Based on that happening, depends on what universal credit income I get. How much listing I do depends on how much Vinted income I get. Someone paying out on time for the film, for example, which he has done, but if I do any more and they pay late, that could affect the income there. Any expense forms that I may need to put in for anything that I do for the school, how long they take to clear through. So none of that is still very much the same, but actually I don't want to wish time away. Financially, things do get very, very easier from September. And I want to get there like now. I want to get there now, but at the same time, I've got June, July, I've got 3 months. I've got like a quarter of the year basically where I need to be as excited about budgeting in the now as I am about budgeting for what's coming up. I hope that makes sense. I can't see the inconsistent income changing over these next 3 months. I think it's still going to be inconsistent and questionable, and I think there's a strong likelihood that I'm going to be putting out budgets that realistically 4 days later are going to change or may not have any planned income going in at all, and it is just a list of these are the bills I've got to pay, this is what I'd like to do this month, this is how much I think my food's going to cost, this is the driving that I've got to do, and therefore I'm going to have to put X amount of petrol in. So it may be that actually those are the budgets that I put out going forward for the next 3 months, but actually I've been very much fighting against doing that for the past 3 months because it felt like the opposite of what I should do. I do feel like I've reached this real nice equilibrium now where actually budgeting is really individual, and I I would love to have the resources that other people have. I really, really would, and have their discipline, but I just don't. So I'm disciplined in some areas. It helps, to be honest, that my credit is so atrocious that I can't physically take on any more debt, and I can't take on credit cards and loans and things like that, because I think there's definitely been times over the past 3 months, in all honesty, where if I did have the option to do that, I probably would have done it, particularly when things were feeling squeezed and I was feeling like that tension, just like that knot in your chest and in your throat, and you're just going like, I don't think my shoulders have relaxed for 6 months. And I'm eating down so much more of my pantry than I used to. I used to have a really healthy preps cupboard. I'm now eating into it because it's okay, I can keep that. That will stretch things out. That will keep on going. Ignoring the fact that I'm going into a supermarket and the prices have changed from the week on before. That's something else that is just, it needs to be navigated on top. But I actually now, despite all of that and despite everything that I've said, I'm actually now feeling really happy about budgeting. And I don't think I'd quite realised how much of a survival mode that I was in. I'd made a couple of references to it in my videos, and I think the ones that I've put out over the last 2 to 3 weeks, looking back on them, because I do go back and look at my own videos, maybe primarily to remind me that I have said a thing or done a thing, and therefore I kind of need to stick to a thing, because I can't remember that. That's just asking far too much of my brain, guys. I'd started to make reference to the fact that I was feeling a little bit in survival mode, and that I'd been feeling like I was there, and that it wasn't enjoyable. I've not enjoyed budgeting. I've not enjoyed, over the past 3 months, I've not enjoyed trying to balance and feeling like I can't achieve the things that I wanted to achieve, and also get to grips with the fact that my own circumstances have changed, and had changed going forward, because when I decided that I was going to become a teacher, from the moment I made that decision, filled out the application form, sent off the application form, got an interview and was accepted, was 3 weeks. So I was very much like fixating on, I'm going to do this. This is going to work with it. I had the film to distract me as well. And then kind of reality starts to creep in. And then I haven't got the weekly income from the film. And then the cash stuffing kind of disappears because that income's not there going in anymore. And then things that I thought would get paid out, tax rebate, for example, still can't do that until the end of this month. Can't even apply for that, which is a pain. So it's not accounted for. So I'm now at the point where I am enjoying the prospect of budgeting going forward. Even these next 3 months, as horrendously inconsistent as I think my income is going to be. July is looking potentially sticky because that is going to be the month where I think universal credit ends and the bursary may kick in. I think that's going to be that crossover month. So I've got to be really, really careful that everything gets declared on time, because if you are overpaid by universal credit and then they get an alert later on, it can get a bit difficult, and I don't really want to be dealing with that going forward. I'd like a nice clean break. Yeah, and I think like I had set those boxes, and I went into Lotta's just said I tried for months to squeeze my spending into boxes I set beforehand. I'm not very good at giving myself permission to change things that I have said that I would do myself. Now, if you were a friend and you said to me, Nicole, I've decided to do a thing and I think I should change my mind, what do you think? I would ask you about your circumstances now and then go and probably tell you to do whatever suited it now. I can't take my own advice, which is horrendous, and I'm sure it's something that other people definitely find. But this is the first year where I was properly like, I want to pay off my debt and I want like salaried, stable, normal income for the first time like ever. And I'm now halfway through the year and it kind of started off that way and it hadn't. And I still want to like pay off my debt. But I need to get my savings in order a little bit. So I've had to like accept that actually the total debt payoff may be delayed slightly, which is fine. I'm saying fine through gritted teeth. But equally, the savings is going to give me a level of security that I've never had, because I've always had debt and I have never had savings. Never had savings. When I say I've always had debt, there's probably an 18-month period where I didn't have debt at all. And I didn't appreciate that for what it was. And I certainly didn't build up any savings. So I've never had savings. Therefore, there is no cushion when a layoff or me exiting a job or something gets paid out late isn't there, and therefore that causes issues. So I'm now kind of able to give myself permission to change things, and also realize that I need to embrace me in my budget, which is like, I feel like should be a slogan on a Primark t-shirt, but go with me here. I feel like if I need to have a million binders for it to make sense in my head, and the only way I can afford to do that is if to make them myself, then I will go ahead and make them myself. Not for resale, because if they are awful and there is air bubbles in the laminate and the paper's printed wrong and there's lines on the print, I won't care. I think that if I need to do a budget and then 4 days later get on and film a video and be like, sorry guys, it's all changed. That thing you've just spent time watching, yeah, don't worry about it. There's another half an hour video for you where I talk about what's changed and why. And I want Terry, don't tell me about that, because like, so Vinted have now like said that you can list technology. I've favorited like 8 Cricut machines. I'm not no joke. Like, it's like 8 Cricut. I don't even know where I would start with a Cricut. I don't even know if a Cricut is the right thing for what I want. I can't have it. I can't afford them. But I've favorited 8 Cricut machines. What I would also say as well, I can't afford to Terry, if you go onto Vinted and you search cricket, there's 8 machines on there at the minute. I shouldn't be telling you guys this. We're meant to be like sensible budgeters. If you've got the money and it's yours and you want to spend it, do it. But yeah, so they've got cricket tools, they've got vinyl. Like, I'm gutted because this is massively segued now, but basically I'm now giving myself, in summary, guys, teacher Nicole is addressing the class. In summary, I have, although things have not gone to plan, it's all gone a bit tits up. I'm actually happy with that after all. Yay! And I am making fun things, which my printer is absolutely crying at me for. But I have a stack of instant ink cartridges that need to be used and a build up of paper. But yeah, so I wouldn't even know where I would start with the cricket. But basically, if you were to go on Vinted now, you could search up stuff from Hobbycraft. So they've got the vinyls. They've got actual cricket branded things as well. I'm just trying to think of what else. Paper Chase. When did they shut down? Can someone please tell me in the UK when Paper Chase shut? Because I am brokenhearted. Actually felt my heart break slightly. Good news is there's tons of stuff on Vinted. May have put my personal spending money towards stationery this month. But things like that, I actually don't feel, because like it's no secret on this channel that I am a spender. I give myself a spending. Why did they shut a few months ago? That's not fair. That's not okay. Who mismanaged them that badly that they shut? Someone no, don't tell me because I'll get annoyed. And no, that is heartbreaking because I'm almost in the position. Damn it. Because here's the thing, like, teacher means stationery. Best place for stationery was Paper Chase. For goodness sake. Terry, that's not okay. Well, yeah, Christmas stuff on discount is fine, but the fact that they shut is not okay. So even things like I am a spender. I love spending. I've done the Dave Ramsey What's Your Money personality test, and I'm a nerdy spender. So I like the nerdiness of doing a budget, but I equally love spending money as well. I actually can now spend my spending money guilt-free. And what I've started to track as well is, while I do go over budget in, I think, definitely food, fuel occasionally, and my personal spending money and household and things like that, what I've noticed is that the more permission I have given myself to spend my spending money, the less over budget I've actually started to go. Because I've started to break down my numbers and look in depth. I think the going over on food at the minute is just something I need to navigate while I actually work out whether I just massively over allow for it and try and see where I actually sit on a month. Or not. But I have actually started to notice that the more permission I give myself to spend, because I give myself a spending category, feel guilty that I'd given myself a spending category, go out and spend anyway, then overspend, then I'm feeling guilty, then it's feeding into the fact that I was feeling guilty because I'd spent on my spending money and then I overspent. Whereas, spoiler alert, there is a Happy Mail video coming at the end of this month, but I took it from my personal spending money. I've also not bought Happy Mail for 6 months, and far too many people have put out a Happy Mail video recently, and I needed to do things. And then I realised that I couldn't afford all the things, so I will make my own out of what I have around my house. So it's small changes. Has my debt massively decreased? No. Do I have an emergency fund? No. Have I had to increase my debt? No. Has my rent and all of my bills gone out on time? Yes, which is a big thing. Am I mentally able to manage the inconsistency without it kind of causing a spiral? Yes. Because in a really weird correlation, it used to be the case that if I didn't know when I would have money coming in again, I would stupidly impulsively spend like frantically, like, and then that just defeats the whole object, because actually if I'd hung on to that money I would have been much better off, but I didn't, and I just impulsively spent because I was worried about not having any more money. There's the train. I'm just gonna see how loud this one is. That went off at 12 o'clock last night. I was fuming. Can we all hear that? It's awful, isn't it? And it's going slow. Why is it going that slow? I can see it. So from my window, I can see the train track and the river. That is going slow. Just to be a pain. So yeah, so it has been, I wanted to just kind of like do this review mainly as so that I've got a record of myself, so that when I am feeling pretty rubbish, I can go back and be like, no, you are doing the things, and actually it may just take my measures of my own success may just take me a little bit longer than someone else's. But equally, I think I'm really relaying like the budgeting basics foundations, which I thought I had in place, and it turns out I didn't. I'm probably as well, I am going to do an annual review, I think, when I get to September, because September the 4th is like the year of the channel. But I did want to take just 6 months, like take this like window to reflect with you guys about how it's gone. And if anyone's got any kind of feedback that they want to jump in on, you can. I'm still feeling like very personally unorganized. I have got an awful amount of studying, and I have been avoiding the metals, engineering, and new and emerging technologies modules, which are the 3 that I really, really don't know at all and really do need to know. And I'm gonna have to do them next week. I've tiptoed around them, but it's going to make it very hard for me to study the remaining modules if I haven't covered these 3. I've done everything else that I possibly can, like going like this on my study online course. I can't avoid them any longer, and I need to get like organized, because my listing's been again slower this week. I've not been feeling as organized. The ribs, so that pulled muscle that I talked about wasn't pulled muscle. It was 3 dislocated rib heads sitting underneath the shoulder blade. It's fine. They popped back in 2 days later, but that didn't help either. Yeah, basically that wasn't fun. So that has kind of slowed down like the general mobility, because that was me being like, oh god, my ribs are doing like snap, crackle and pop from the Rice Krispies TV advert. It's horrible. So what I thought was a pulled muscle was not. It was far worse than that. It's all fine now. They're all in place, as is evidenced. Yeah, it has, Lotta, and I don't think I had really appreciated how much I'd been juggling. I've given myself a little bit of grace, and I've also gone and bought Happy Mail. Some of it started to arrive as well. And then so I mean, another thing as well, like, why did Simple Budgets leave? I missed all of that because I got no notifications and was just generally avoiding like budgeting social media. And now I'm like, Sarah, where have you gone? Come back. I need your wonderful mandala challenges and your fantastic, beautiful budgeting presents. Where have you gone? So all of that I like missed. Yeah, Vinted is a bit of a problem as well, Lotta, because so at the minute, I'm not in a position to afford these, but there might be some of you out there who can. You are finding at the minute on Vinted, there have been a couple of iris binders that have gone on there, and a couple from, I want to say Glitzy Budgets and Budget with Me 24/7, all of which I would buy brand new if I could genuinely afford to, but I can't. And yeah, so if anyone is, they are on there. I would always say buy from the seller directly if you can, but if you do want one and you can't afford to go to the full one, if you search budget binders on Vintage, you would find a few a few things like that. So that has definitely inspired, I would say, as a designer and a maker and creator. I'm not a fan of doing a like blanket copy of other people's work. So anything that I'm creating for myself is very much like for me, designed for me, my aesthetic, which it turns out is marble. I didn't realize marble was a thing of mine. Didn't realize marble was an aesthetic. It's now everywhere. Do you want a sneak peek of how much marble is an aesthetic? So one of my savings goals is obviously to save 5,000. So I'm doing like my own version of an iris binder. Okay. Just for me. It's not going to be recreated or sold anywhere. I have 34 of these. They're all different. I've all got teeny tiny stickers that I'm tweezering on. It's a problem. It's a problem. And then the Galaxy Celestial like prints here are all going to be for a self-made 2K or 1K. I know, they're beautiful. Do you know it took my printer all day to print these? This is how rubbish my printer is. But it was free and I had ink and I had cardstock paper left over, and I've got awful like super thin rubbish laminate, which is partly why there had to be so many, because I don't think these can structurally hold many notes. But they're mine and they're unique and they will ultimately work for me. But things like that are all helping me. I'm actually going to start hole punching these while I'm here because I did bring this up to do. Things like this is all just helping me get like excited, because when I've bought savings challenges, I never ever looked at any savings challenge that was above 500. I only had the larger ones where they'd appeared in like a bundle or a like a Save Me, because I just did not think I would ever have the opportunity to save like anything more than 2K. And I have genuinely believed for most of this channel year that I would well, yeah, Lotta, I bought the savings challenges first and then realised I wanted the savings challenge binders. Which is half the problem. I could have afforded a binder if I hadn't have bought the challenges, but I wanted the challenges and I want the binder. So, yeah. Lotta had a Harry Potter spree. See, my sister is the Harry Potter fiend, and she's also a teacher, and her school runs art trips to the Warner Brothers studios on the outskirts of London. So she just volunteers as a teacher. So she's gone like 5 times this year already to the Warner Brother art studios, and she just wanders around and just buys all of the things. It's a hard life she's got, I have to say. So yeah, I mean, I might have to spend like, I don't know, 5 or 6 quid for paper, maybe, but yeah, so I never thought that like I would ever have it in me or ever have the opportunity to save more than that. Oh my god, Lotta, it's amazing. I've gone this is Warner Brothers Studios, to anyone who's not following the chat. It's fantastic. It will take all day. Anyone else who's been in the chat as well, let Lotta know. Allow all day. The food is expensive, but it's worth getting like the butterbeer and the things like that, but the general food itself is expensive. Go all day and be prepared to like go mad in the gift shop, and just video and photograph absolutely everything. It's outstanding. And I think we went when it very first opened as a family, and then we went back October, because my cousins came over from Australia really early on in the channel. That was something that happened quite quickly that I was having to take into account, was the fact that I had family from overseas coming, and my younger cousins were 11 and 13 and were obsessed with Harry Potter, and it was fantastic. Like, it was really just wonderful. But you get your kids to save their own spending money, otherwise you and your significant other will end up spending all of your money in the gift shop. Maybe not for yourselves either. But yeah, my sister was like, fell into the Harry Potter. It was okay, so Lotta, basically have spending money for yourself, for you to have in the gift shop, and then have money, and then have the kids have their money, because otherwise you will have no money left. Because the gift shop is deadly. It's one of the deadliest gift shops I have ever seen. If anyone has been and experienced that gift shop, let me know. It's a thing. It's a whole thing within itself. But yeah, once you get to go, it's amazing. It's so worth it. So yeah, so I get to have fun with stuff like this. I'm also looking as well, if anyone, can you either pop it in the comments below or in the chat if you do know anything. A7 is really, I'm finding it really difficult to get my hands on non-holographic A7 binders that look like they can stand up to stuff. One day is enough if you go early. So get yourself, because you do have to book your tour. So the way it's structured is you go in for your tour at a certain time, which is when they introduce you to the experience, and then they let you go, and you are just then in, and you can spend all day in there. The food is halfway through, so you can go back and forward. So it's not like the coffee and the food is at the very beginning and then you're stuck, or it's at the very end. The gift shop is at the very end. There's one gift shop halfway through which has got exclusive stuff just for that area, and I don't want to give away anything because it's amazing. If anyone gets that reference, there is a train. Don't tell your kids, but they do have that, and there is therefore themed gifts. So you can basically back and forward to canteens. There's free water fill ups throughout the place, and just take spare chargers, take spare chargers for your phones, because it's amazing. And if you can get it like when it's around maybe Christmas or Halloween, that in itself is a whole nother level. Because they decorate it like specifically. So when we went, they had like Death Eaters running around, and they'd themed things. I'm trying not to give anything away, because you've not been. You can go on. So it's fully interactive, a lot of the stuff. And if what I love personally, mainly from my background as well, is they've got the a lot of the art, and they've got a lot of the quarter scale, like white cardboard sets that they've built, and just the technical, how they created everything is amazing. Because this was like, they were doing a lot of like visual effects back then as well. So like they were building, like you see Dobby, for example, and the design process and other things. I don't want to give any more away because it's amazing. But yeah, yeah, I think like if I had Star Wars themed, if I had a Star Wars themed thing in the UK, I'd be probably there as much as my sister was with hers. And she's completely like, she's like fully open about the fact that she's not an art teacher, she's not creative at all, and yet she somehow finds herself on every art trip to Warner Brothers Studios. So yeah, so I think it's going to be a really interesting 3 months coming up. And I'm also trying to factor in, like, it's been a long time since I've studied. It's been a really, really, really long time since I've studied. And the science and the maths that's linked to, I mean, obviously engineering, very scientific and mathematical, and I'm a right-sided brain. I do not work with the left side of my brain, guys. I struggled with a Key Stage 2 maths SATs paper today. It's not good. So I've got like lots of heavy studying, but I also need to really sit down and plan, because we've got that car boot sale coming up that we're looking at doing, my dad and I, at the end of July. And I'd kind of got halfway there and then just completely stopped and cut off. And the same with like listing as well, and that is so directly linked to my income. So I'm like, at the minute, I'll be honest, happily distracting myself with stuff like this, which I'm using as like my personal time. But then I think tomorrow, pardon me, I need to just spend a whole day planning. I've got to effectively, I think, plan the next 3 months in one sitting, which for me is a nightmare, because I'm not very good at giving myself permission to change stuff, and things may change. So I have got to plan that effectively, because I think as well, like, it's just little things now that I never used to think about when I was a kid. And at the minute over here, in my area, we were on kids' half term. I think like the county next to me, theirs is like next week, and the other county on the other side, theirs was last week. So it's a little bit different depending on where you are in the country. But at the minute, we're on half term this week. And my neighbour was saying that, like, you know, her son's 12, so he's kind of going into a teenager. And she feels like she wants to do stuff with him. You know, he's going to get to the point where eventually, you know, he's not going to want to do stuff with his mum, because it's not cool, because he's a teenage boy and mums aren't cool. And she, you know, she's managed to get this rare week off work at the same time as him. But she's like, you know, if I go to the cinema to see Fast X or Guardians, that's X amount. If we want to drive up to the beach, which for us is 2.5 to 3 hours to go to the beach, that's 2.5 to 3 hours of petrol. And then, because obviously it's half term, it's not just petrol for the drive, you're then petrol sitting in a queue. I think, oh my god, a spider has just fallen. Oh god, what's happened? Okay, if there's one thing I can't handle, guys, which may end this stream abruptly, it is a spider. That's why I will never live in Australia, because those things will kill you. Sorry, Australians, I'm sure you're lovely, but they have 8-legged things that will absolutely want to kill me. Hang on, I'm having a moment. Okay, no, it's fine. We're fine. I'm okay. It's okay. Anyone who goes to Warner Brothers Studios has not been. Just beware if you're not a fan of spiders. There's a thing there based on the second film. Okay, damn it. That slightly cut me off in the track as well, because my brain just went, I can't do this. Lotta says maybe plan for prizes for yourself for study every day for 2 hours, maybe. Yeah. Problem is I move the prizes to the start of the day. No, I'm gonna like. I can't. No, Lotta, I can't do it. Do you know what the worst horror film is for me? 8-Legged Freaks. Can't do it. No, can't do it. Can't. Worst horror film in the world. 8-Legged Freaks. Why? Spiders. It's like my aunt's like, do you want to come visit me in Australia? No. But you'll love it. No. Just no. No, you can do the 23-hour flight this way. Can't do it. But they're not that bad. No. They're as big as a wall. I'm not doing it. I can't. I actually can't do it. No, it's the eyes and the legs. No, just anyway, because I'm sure there'll be other people who are silent in the chat going like, Nicole, stop talking about spiders. Nicole, stop talking. And Bowie just thinks they're his friend and doesn't do it. And don't talk to me about the cat right now. He bought me a present and it was still alive. And Bowie did not Yeah, it was a problem. um, I'm sure I would love Oz. I'm sure I really, really would, but I just ugh, knowing my luck, based on how my last 6 months has gone, guys, based on my luck, I probably would. Um, no, I mean, yeah, I mean it's awful because we've never gone over there as a family and like reciprocated the visit. And my sister might be the first one to do so, but she's she's got a good income, and even she's had to turn around. Well, she has chosen to to put the flights on a credit card, and then pay that off in stages because she felt like the cost of the flights would be too much of a hit on either her savings or her monthly budget. She was quite impulsive when she booked it. But I mean, she's, I would say, generally good with money, good with money. And that's how she's chosen to do it. And I mean, I wouldn't even get approved for a credit card, I think, with a £50 limit. So I would not get approved for a credit card for flights to Australia, nor can I see that happening. So like I do want to travel. I absolutely want to travel, and Norway and Sweden is 100% on my list. Like desperately want and need to like go to like Scandinavia, and like something's pulling me there. But yeah, I can't at the minute put myself in the mindset of holiday or outings because it will feel like it's something else at the minute that I can't do, and I can't do it, but I want to do it, and I don't want that to distract me from the things that I've got coming up because Lotta, when what I have said to myself is when I have paid off all of my debt, I'm going to go, and I want to hike when the midnight sun is on. I don't care about midges and mosquitoes and things like that. Can't forget, I've got really close friends in Helsinki, like fantastically close friends in Helsinki, and I've had an open invitation to go out there. When did they move? I've had an open invitation to go out and stay with them since 2020. That whole Norway, Sweden, Finland snowed last night. See, we're now approaching my worst time of year because we're about to get hot and swampy, and we're already approaching hot and swampy, and I can't handle it. And it's not. I am not fussed by the minus temperatures. The thought of the minus temperatures, like the first places I am going to travel to is Scandinavia. Well, to be honest, that's why they moved. Not to bring up the horror word that is Brexit, because I'm being completely apolitical. I'm not a fan of the thing. She was Finnish and he wasn't, and they both worked in film and TV, and they both realised that they wouldn't be, basically they couldn't financially survive another lockdown because they didn't meet support requirements basically for the UK. So it was a very, very quick, let's get moved before we officially exit, and he can get residency basically. And they are both just absolutely smashing it out in the film industry in Finland. But yeah, they like I miss them. Like I'm not a soppy person. I say that I cried at 4 cat videos today because it was just beautiful. I'm not a soppy person, and that was like any friend who's gone like I'm going to go just do and see the world, and I'm normally like 100% cheerleading, but that was hard to have them be as far away as they are. But equally what I've said to myself, because what I do have to remember is that a very large proportion of my debt, I would probably say maybe 70% of my debt is to someone who is within my extended family, my guarantor. And I would feel like I'm going to say it, I'd feel like an absolute shit if I went and travelled and whilst owing them what I owe them. And they're the ones that said, oh, we wouldn't mind. And I was like, no, I would mind. So let me pay you off so I can go travel guilt-free, please. Because I would feel guilty. I would feel really guilty. I feel guilty if I've had a weekend away. before I started this channel, I used to do quite a lot of hiking weekends away. And that could easily run up to like 150, 200 pounds by the time I've taken into account like accommodation and travel, petrol and food and things like that. And yeah, I mean, I'd feel guilty doing that. They didn't care, they didn't mind. But I felt guilty. So it's like, right, well, when I go to these places, I want to go for as long as I can, in whatever capacity that is. And I want to be able to enjoy and pay and do the things that I want to do, which is inevitably going to cost money. But I've never had that big trip. I know that there's a few channels that thankfully YouTube has now rediscovered to me, that are saving for like big abroad holidays, and I've never done that. We never even did that as kids because we couldn't afford it. So, and equally, there are things that I want to do in the UK as well. Like, it would be nice to actually spend money on like a proper spa break, because I've done like the odd day where you've got like a voucher for like from like a Groupon or a voucher or something like that. I'd like to go off and eventually do things like that, but I wanted to really like get my debt chunk down, partly because like next year I was like, I'm going to do Sweden and I'm going to do Norway and I'm going to do Finland. And eventually I'll do Iceland as well, but I think that's going to be somewhere different. That's going to be a different point. We'll ignore the fact that Bowie will not go into a cattery and like gets himself stupidly sick when he's in there, and I would have to sort out cat cover for like 4 weeks or 6 weeks. And we're going to ignore the awful like access rules now. That's a separate video. That means that I would have to look at my Schengen like access. I don't know, just stuff like that. So yeah, so it's been an interesting 6 months, just rounding up, but I am actually quietly excited, not quietly excited. I'm excited about budgeting again. I'm falling back in love with it. It's no longer a survival tool. It's no longer like a survival tool. It's more of a like, this now is more, hope is such a cliche term, but it is very much like okay, this feels now achievable. I feel like I can achieve something doing this, and there's going to be something tangible at the end. So much so that like my categories, like my savings categories that you've seen me plan for recently, like I want to start hitting them now, where I'm having to like restrain myself. Do lots of small categories or big ones work best for you? I don't know, Lotta, and this is half the problem, because I've never really seriously focused on saving at all. So I've never had an emergency fund. I've never strived to save an emergency fund. I've had the thought of being a month ahead that it might be sensible, but I've never really put anything towards it. My small change saving challenges, I have flip-flopped a lot on what I want them to go for. And at the minute, the penny savings challenge that I am doing, that is going to go towards, so I've got 4 books that I need to read and work through. They're in my Amazon basket, and that's obviously for teaching, so that's going to go towards that, because I need to have them by August, so it's a very short thing. I have to be detailed with the spending too. Ish. So where I've given, so for example, like this month, where I've said my spending money, I think I've put like £100. Like, that's my spending money. If I go and spend, and I've not done this, which is why I'm going to use it as the example. If I were to go and spend all of that £100 this week on like savings challenges, for example, I am not going to guilt myself because I've spent more than I wanted to on savings challenges. But equally, I will probably regret that because I've done it so early. But what I am getting a lot better at doing is not spending so much on mindless crap. So I want to get a pantry stock up envelope going, but at the minute it's a bit of a luxury one. I am doing the surveys and things and the market research and stuff like that in the evenings specifically for Amazon vouchers to put towards the tech, because I'm trying to play down how much tech I need to buy. There is a lot that is very, very broken with this laptop now. I don't necessarily go out of the £100, here's £25 per week, for example, if we have a 4-week month, because actually I may have 1 week. So for example, next week, because I have really got to knuckle down and study the metals and the engineering modules, I am going to be head down, not leaving the house, not allowing myself to get distracted, and I'll probably go in and focus quite hard on that. So my personal spending will probably be very, very limited next week, but I've done a fair amount of spending in this first week already, which would have exceeded that £25 per week allowance that I would give myself. However, that then changes if I want to do a day trip. So if I want to do a day trip, I may have to take into account if there are any entrance fees or things like that, any like stuff that I want to buy in a gift shop. So it really does vary what I'm doing and what my circumstances are. So I'm trying to like help myself for things that are coming up. I hate 5-week months. I hate 5-week months. I think they are the absolute bane of a budgeter's existence. I think that I'm going to go on a little bit of a tangent, guys. So if you're not here for a rant, that's completely fine. I'll see you in the next one. Same proviso. I can't stand 5-week months because I think that large majority of jobs don't take into account 5-week months when they're paying, which can cause huge issues. I think statistically across, I would say, the UK and the US, there's not a lot of the ratio of people who have spare money at the end of the month to those that don't on a 4-week month is not great. I would say there's probably more people at the end of a 4-week month that don't have money left than do. And I know that when I hit a 5-week month, I literally sit there and go, I don't know how I'm going to do this. And I've now got to try and do this. I'd say, Terry, yeah, I do a little bit of a blend of that. So I think for me, like, because I knew I would have no real spending going on this next week, I've kind of given myself permission to kind of spend a little bit more this week. Equally though, because I've not done this planner and I've not done this organising, that I really need to sit down and do. I know that I want to do an outing this month, even if it's just like a local tourist thing, but I don't know what it's going to be. I'm going to try and look at like the closest free ones first, and go from there, I think, and then build up. I think the Christmas paycheck gets everyone, Lotta, and I know that there were a lot of budget channels around about that time that were, when they were budgeting, trying to take into account the fact that like people were potentially going to be waiting like maybe 6 weeks for a wage. I know employers think it's helpful. What I can say as someone who's been habitually awful with money, my employer paying me early before Christmas as a spender, when I would then spend horrendously for 2 weeks and then have nothing left for the remaining 3, because I would hit those sales hard. I would hardcore, not quite the level of queuing outside the luxury department stores on a Boxing Day. Mrs. Mummy, not another budget, would never let any of her children go in the Boxing Day sales. That was definitely a day that was reserved for family. Thankfully, that lesson stuck. But yeah. And not just like go to the city and spend money once in the sales, it would go back repeatedly. Yeah. Employers, it's not helpful. Please don't. And this is the thing as well, like I can't, if I know I've got money sitting in an envelope, it doesn't take much for me to convince myself to spend it. which is something I'm much better at. But this is kind of why you don't see me doing a lot of cash stuffing, because a lot of stuff, like, by the time I found a cash point that's working, because although I have a cash point in my village, it is broken 8 times out of 10. By the time I've found a cash point that's working, because of where I am, that drive means that because I've used that petrol, I might as well then go food shopping, put petrol in, get the cat food. If there's anything that I need to get that's like extra, that's normally eaten into the cash that I would have taken out to cash stuff anyway, which yeah. I mean, there should be some nice cash stuffings coming up from September. Everything's going to be wonderful from September, guys. No, I'm looking at trying to see if I can get my £1 challenge where my part of my savings challenge Sunday where I worked with my £1. I'm trying to see if I can actually this month get them back into the budget and actually use that to see if I can start on some of the smaller categories that I want to save for from September, because realistically, as the earliest that I can get started on those ones, the more money I can then free up to stuff for the big amounts. At the minute, there's still potentially a £700 leeway in my budget over the next month and July. That's very much dependent on the teaching bursary, so I have factored that in and accounted for that. But I would like to try and get the £1 back in and savings, because that I did bizarrely enough, I really did feel like I was making and chunking through, and like that thrill of being like, oh, I've got £37 saved for Christmas already in March, this is wonderful, and then having to spend it the next week. But like that was nice, and seeing how that builds up, because I can be very disciplined with like putting it away or putting the change in the pot and ignoring it. I might need to actually cash out the change and exchange it for notes this weekend, because Dad wants to go to the car boot that we're looking at going and just seeing and trying. He's doing a dad thing where he's going to assess the situation and get the lay of the land. So I'll just take my change. It'll be easier for that. But whatever change I will take, I'll swap out for notes and pop that note in there, basically. I've got Father's Day as well that I need to sort, and I could do with doing another food shop. Anyone who's in the chat now or watching this on catch up, because I am at the point where, on a slight segue, and then I'll probably round it off after this, because we're at 1 hour 12, so we'll go to an hour and a half. So I'll go to just before 10 o'clock GMT. Anyone in the chat or anyone in the comments, if you're watching this on catch up, have you used things like HelloFresh, Green Chef, Gusto, particularly taking advantage of their welcome offers? And have you found that that has been a good use of your food shop money for a couple of weeks? Now, I'm asking this because at the minute I have got the funds sitting in my food category to potentially do that. I need to go and do a food shop. I am trying to consciously shop and cook more healthily. That was expensive prior to these health increases, and now it's worse. So if anyone's got any experience with using those, specifically the sign-up offers, not as a full-time basis and not on a full price basis, can you let me know? At the minute, I've provisionally budgeted, I would say, £50 a week for food, but if it means that I do most of a month's food shop and then just do a tiny top-up shop each week, then for things like milk and fruit and veg and stuff like that, that's fine. I'm really conscious of the fact that my lungs and my overall health, and therefore weight as well, and that's connected to that, is potentially going to get worse as we're approaching this awful weather, because that basically triggered a massive series of like lung complications last year before I started my channel. When I started, I was dealing with the tail end of that, but I was in and out of hospital for on several occasions, lots of like chest drains and super high medicated, and I'm going into a career where ideally I'd like to be healthy. I'd like to be healthy anyway, but we do have a health questionnaire and I'm trying to do as much as I can to myself. I obviously can't control 36 to 40 degree weather that we're not equipped for in this country, and to be honest, that was the event that made my lungs go, nope, can't handle this. But I'm trying to do as much as I can. So if anyone's got any experience with using those, it may be a UK only, because Lotta's saying she doesn't have it in Norway. UK, or I know HelloFresh is in the US, because I've seen enough people do sponsored ads for them out of other channels that I watch. Let me know whether you have found the sign-up offers to be beneficial for a couple of weeks, and whether you, in your opinion, you feel it would be worth doing if, say, a food budget was £50 a week for a couple of weeks. They have down south. Yeah, I mean, I'm lucky that I'm in the wild. I'm kind of in the UK wild, kind of. I live in an area which is classed as rural deprivation, which is wonderful. But it's not a pretty wild. If I were somewhere like the Lake District, which is I'm not, if I were somewhere like the Lake District, I would quite happily be living in that wild. I am not in that wild. I'm in an area of rural deprivation, which is never a moniker that you want to have, particularly in the UK. Probably a little bit too political, so we'll stop there. Yeah, it wasn't until 13 years ago. But yeah, so if anyone's got any experience with those, can you let me know what your thoughts are and whether you have found them to be a good use of your food budget? I would certainly say for things like cupboard staples and stuff like that, Bowie has his own budget anyway, which I could probably absorb into my actual food, but I do want to, because cat food and dog food at the minute is like this. Price increases. It's as crazy as human food prices. At the minute, he's kind of got his own budget, mainly so that I can track week on week how much I spend on him. And also he tends to eat less in the summer, so it's a good way of me monitoring how much spending money he needs as well. I'm just trying to think if there's anything else to update you on that I can update you on now. No, unless anyone wants to do the metals and engineering modules for me, let me know. We can have a chat. We can be best friends if you do the modules and engineering modules for me. I'm really not looking forward to those. Maths and science were not my subjects, and I need to know what they are to teach them. But in terms of, because I'll start winding it down now because there's about 10 minutes left. In terms of what's coming up, we've got the Savings Challenge Sunday video for you guys. Have I got my point coin pot? Can't even speak. That's how awful I'm doing. Sneak peek of the point coin pot there. So I didn't do one last week, mainly because I was filming and I wouldn't have time, but also there just wasn't enough change in there, really. It would have been like 10p. So that will be about 10 days worth of stuff. So that's coming up this Sunday. There may be a cash stuffing on there as well. It depends if I can get all of my ducks in a row in time. And if I do need to swap out the change for notes for this car boot, which is dependent on another person at the minute, I'll let you know as well. I have been filming my trials and tribulations with these, so there'll be a part 1 and then a part 2 coming out. There will be a Happy Mail video coming up, and there will also be what else? I'm going to try and get back to weekly catch-ups because they definitely disappeared when I was not in the best place budgeting wise. But I think that's me. And in a semi-structured ish for me video where I actually kind of discussed a topic and saw it through to the end. Does anyone have any questions or comments before we go? Pop them in the chat box if you do. Thank you to everyone who's watched, by the way. You've all pretty much like stayed and watched me, which is lovely. So thanks. Sorry there's no cat. If anyone was coming for the cat, he's fussy. He's sulking because I won't give him second dinner. So you know how the Hobbits and Lord of the Rings have second breakfast? Bowie wants second breakfast, lunch and dinner, and he can't have it. It was nice chatting. Thanks. I'm going to try and do this like maybe once a month, and it may just be in a completely random and there'll be Happy Mail Hall as well. It may just be completely random where I talk absolute rubbish, or it may be like semi-structured, and I'll have kind of something that I want to discuss or talk about, and there may or may not be cat appearances. But yeah, and I'm going to start, to those of you with channels, I'm going to actually able to start working through my watch list now. I'm sorry I wasn't being rude. I genuinely had no idea that you had posted, because I watch so much YouTube that unless I get a notification, I lose track, and I have notifications on for everyone. And those of you who are posting comments, I'm slowly starting to work my way through them as well and get up to grips on Instagram. But I think the conclusion is that I need to have a day's planning, which is going to be tomorrow. So this will be kind of the midweek video for this week, this live. If anyone wants to watch it on catch up, if you've joined halfway through, it will all be on there. I have found out as well through YouTube, because YouTube is rubbish at telling me stuff, that they have basically started doing stupid like 6-second non-skippable ads pretty much every 10 minutes into a video. I have tried to go through and disable them as much as I can. If you are finding that it's horrendous, that's not me. I promise that's not me. That is YouTube. But please let me know. Because at the minute I have a one at the start. I schedule a start ad and an end ad, which is just fairly normal. Anything that's stupidly like interrupted in the middle, let me know, because I know I'm trying to, if I put out like a 24-minute video, it be a 24-minute video, because it's, the information deserves 24 minutes and it's condensed and it's important. I don't want it to be a 24-minute video which is broken up every 5 minutes with 6-second ads that you can't skip. So let me know what the ad situation is like at your end. That would be really appreciated, because then I can kind of see what I can do about it, and delve a little bit more into it there. And yeah, so I will thank you all so much. Thank you, Lotta and Terry, who have been like holding up the chat in the best way possible. So thank you all for listening to me ramble for an hour and 22 minutes. I'm going to cut it off here. But I hope you have a good night if you're in the UK and Europe, and if you are in America and you're heading into your evening, I hope you have a fantastic evening and rest of your week. I am going to see you all on Sunday for a Savings Challenge Sunday video, and possibly a cash stuffing. Maybe a rare thing on this channel. And I will also be hopefully releasing middle of next week the part 1 of Nicole is attempting to make a thing. Bowie gets involved and it's not ideal, I can tell you that much as well. So thank you so much. I'm going to love you and leave you now. Have a wonderful night, and I hope your budgeting week is going fantastically. Bye-bye for now, guys. Is this going to turn off? No, I will go in a second, I promise, once I figure out the tech. There we are. Bye-bye for now, guys. I will see you all soon.